Oh, alrighty. So I should be able to ramble for about half an hour. That sounds good. Alrighty, today we have a couple of topics to talk about. First one we're going to open up with is Fischer's recent retirement. Then we're going to go ahead and cover the upsets on Sunday. And then we're going to cover the upset between the Vancouver Titans and the LA Valiant. And then we're going to discuss why I think the 2-2-2 roll lock idea is a terrible idea. Let's get into it. So, as some of you may know, Fischer retired from Overwatch League yesterday. Like, last night, actually, we got the announcement. He says he's kind of getting bored of the game, and he wants to try out different things with his stream, which is perfectly understandable. We've had a couple of pros recently. Well, not recently, but it's not uncommon for the professional players that lead the professional scene to pursue other things. Either trying to do other things, or they just get burnt out in the game. Like, Seagull got burnt out. Bishu allegedly did, but he's, like, still playing, which, yeah, that was odd. And then DeFran also left recently. So, yeah, it's not uncommon for professional players to leave. Which, I also have another thing about Rollock involving Fischer. He recently, on stream, now that he's not a part of the Overwatch League, leaked that, yeah, the Rollock is going to happen in Stage 4. He said it himself, and yeah, I'm not too terribly happy about that, but I'll get into that later. Next, we have last Sunday's upsets. First one we're going to start out is Chengdu versus Fuel. Went 4-0, which was kind of spooky. I mean, Dallas Fuel's been looking a little shaky lately. They recently got a new main tank, Trill. He started out a little rough, but I think he's, like, starting to mesh with the team. OG hasn't been doing too terribly great in the head lately. He hasn't been feeling like main tank E, if that makes any sense. And Taimu's also not too terribly happy. In a recently deleted tweet, he mentioned he mentioned in kind of a passive-aggressive way that he was kind of upset that he was not allowed to, like, fill the role he'd been picked up for the team, which is DPS. And instead they're running Zachary, and then there's just a lot of controversy between, like, Zachary and then Arrow and then Taimu getting upset about it. It's a whole thing that we're going to cover another time. Oh yeah, Chengdu just went and curb stomped Dallas Fuel last Sunday, and that was rough. Their DPS was looking Chengdu's DPS was looking really solid. If I remember correctly, that's whenever Evil Tall went on a murder spree with Mercy, which was funky. Yeah. Conclusion, Fuel's not looking too great. Trill's not bad, though. I've changed my mind on Trill. I think I actually casted his first game, and it was rough. Next, we got Uprising. Oh, this was a painful game. We had Paris, who is popping off. They were, like, in sync. Cruz had his gamer brain on. Ben Best was, like, zooming around the point and zooming around everything with the Lucio at his back. Cruz was, like, hiding out EMPs. It was going great. And then Hackfist happened. Like, Hackfist didn't really bother them the first two games. They managed to play around it, but just something happened after map 3 that just caused all their other stuff to just go out the window. And Cruz was noticeably upset with this. He was playing extremely well and, like, still ended up losing to Boston of all teams. Now, let me remind you that Shanghai was actually their first win of Shanghai came from the Boston Uprising. Boston Uprising's last really good player was a pedophile. Currently, they traded, like, an amazing D.Va player for a mediocre Sombra player. And then, like, I kind of like Fusions. I like Fusion. He's a really good main tank, but yeah, I guess and then Blase just came out of nowhere with his Doomfist. I mean, it is established he is a good Doomfist. He's a good DPS player. It just, the combination of RCK's Sombra that he's finally figured out how to combine with the team, along with Element Mystic's Hackfist composition, it looks like Boston's finally, like, figured out their comp, similar to, like, the Vancouver Titans and San Francisco Shock's compositions are GOATs, and that's what they are. So it's going to be interesting if we see a lot more Hackfist coming out from Boston Uprising. Then we've got the Outlaws versus the Mayhem. This too was a painful match, especially because Outlaws have been looking really, really good lately. I mean, they've been experimenting with other stuff, and as much as I hate to admit it, first of all, I love Monty. I really love Monty Do's casting. Because of how much I love them, I've actually watched old League of Legends games that they've casted just because I love their banter. And what I don't love is sometimes Monty can be a little harsh on the Houston Outlaws, which it's sometimes warranted, and the thing that makes it even more painful is he's kind of not wrong. He can word it a little better, but he's not wrong. So the Outlaws are not a GOATs team. They can't compete with GOATs on the level of the Shock and the Vancouver Titans. They just can't. So they're finally just doing our own thing. And one of the own things we saw that works for them is they run triple DPS occasionally. I think it was Eichenwald. Not this last Sunday, but they ran triple DPS at Eichenwald and did really well on it. I think one of the stats that the guy that comes up with the stats found that Outlaws win 72 or 73% of the team fights that they take whenever they're running triple DPS. So yeah, triple DPS works for Outlaws, and they've been changing everything up, and Outlaws are finally coming into their own. Whenever I saw their schedule for stage 1, I was like, oh, easy clap. They're in the finals. They're in the stage finals. Maybe not stage champions, but I was gonna give them top 4, top 8 definitely, but hopefully top 4, and then just So I don't know who is funding the Florida Mayhem. No idea, but whoever they are just throwing money and money and money and more money at the team, because at this point they've gone through either 2.5 or 3 teams. Because we had the Florida Mayhem from Stage 1, which was they were only marginally better than the Shanghai Dragons, which is not something you want to be compared to. Then they just kicked everyone off, which I kind of miss Logix. I liked Logix. I mean, I didn't like him. He wasn't my favorite player or anything, but I enjoyed seeing Logix pop off occasionally. And then he kind of got a little cocky and wanted a higher salary from another team, and that's why he's in Contenders now. And they just got rid of their entire team. Mayhem had a lot of issues last season. Mayhem didn't have a proper budget. They didn't have a team house in downtown LA. I think it was Zebazai or Zappis, one of the Z boys, actually had to drive 40 minutes a day for the team to go to the scrim center and practice, and it wasn't looking great. And it's either because they were cheap or didn't have a whole lot of money. And now we've seen them completely get rid of their roster, get a new roster, and then get rid of that roster and get a new roster full of really good Korean players. Who is throwing money at this? Why wouldn't you just... It's an incredibly bad planning on their part, but unfortunately, it's working. If you throw money at a problem long enough, you're gonna get results. And that's what we got with the new Florida Mayhem, is results. And of course, when you get a bunch of really good Korean players, they're probably gonna win. That was rough. And then, oh yeah, also, another thing I wrote down was with a new roster, a brand new roster, they don't know what the roster's like. These people haven't played together before. They don't know what to expect. But the Outlaws have played together as a team for a season and a half. They know what to expect from them. How do you prepare for a team you don't know anything about? That's another issue that the Outlaws had going in, and Mayhem definitely had an advantage over them. However, I'd still like to point out that Shanghai Dragons currently have more wins than Mayhem does in their entire career. Just saying. Just not biased or anything. Just saying. And then, oh boy, we have the upset between the LA Valiant and the Vancouver Titans. So I wasn't originally going to watch this game because I thought it was okay, the games aren't going great today. I don't think I can watch any more Overwatch League. It's the LA Valiant. They haven't been doing very well at all this season. and it's just gonna be an easy win. I mean, it's the Vancouver Titans. Boy, was I wrong. So, to give you a little context of me watching this game, I kind of vaguely watched it the first two maps. I mean, like, Vancouver took one, and then Valiant took one. No big deal. As good of a team as the Titans are, they drop maps a lot, which is why the Shock have less wins than the Titans, but still a higher map differential. And so I was like, oh, okay, it's 1-1. Maybe it's kind of worth watching. And then the Valiant took another map, and it was like, oh dear, this is getting serious, because they have never, like, they just don't drop like two maps. They don't go, I don't know if they've actually ever gone into a map 5 before, but it's just very unusual, especially the LA Valiant. So I was like, okay, looks like I'm watching. And of course it was on Dorado. My favorite teams always have a historical, like, they always have a historic, how do I word this? My teams suck at Dorado. If you remember, the Shang 9 happened. Poor dude. That happened on Dorado. Kariv slept Gamsu off of the point so that they couldn't contest into overtime on Dorado. And then the Vancouver Titans got their first loss in a very long time on Dorado. In conclusion, Dorado's a garbage tier map. So it can be attributed to a couple things. The Valiant recently picked up Fact Fiction and Shax. Shax is the guy with the long neck. I will make plenty of comments about that. And just Kariv, I don't know what happened, but he just started popping off on Ana. He hit crazy sleep darts, as we saw in the Shanghai game. He slept Ding out of an EMP, which is really, really hard to do. He slept Ding out of the EMP. He was sleeping. He slept multiple Pharas. Like, let me say that again. He slept. It's already difficult enough to sleep a single Phara, but like he slept multiple Pharas consistently. That's impressive. And just that, and then his fat purples, along with the Sombra from Shax, that's like 2 counters to goats right there. And usually you can play around an Ana. It's usually not a big deal. You just run a Diva, eat those canisters, block those sleep darts with a shield or with Defense Matrix, you're good. But it's really hard to do that if you're also getting flanked by a Sombra who's just hacking you, rendering your abilities useless, and then like the shield goes down and the purple goes out and you're all dead. Not to mention that Titans play an incredibly aggressive composition, and Bumper also is notoriously aggressive. It's just Vancouver Titan style to just tape down mouse 1 and W and just go to the point, which Bumper had one of 2 options. He could either play aggressive and then get punished by the Sombra, getting hacked, slept, stunned, murdered, or they could have played a little more passively and playing out of their comfort zone, which is not something that we're particularly interested in doing. And then a combination of, like, they don't know how to prepare for these new people. They don't know what they're going to do. Not to mention that Vancouver Titans had 8 maps to train for this stage. They played 8 different maps across their 2 different games. And that's already hard enough. So combined with being a very rigid GOATS composition, aside from the occasional quad DPS, and then playing into a really good Ana and a really good Sombra, spelled disaster for them. And they've also not been looking too terribly great this stage. I mean, they're still popping off. This is nothing really to worry about. Like, we shouldn't be discrediting the Titans right now, but it's definitely something that they're going to have to work on. And the Sombra, just the threat of the Sombra alone is incredibly dangerous, because I went back and reviewed it a little bit, and we saw Somin Su on Eichenwald swapping off of the Zarya and onto the McCree just because of how threatening that Sombra was. Yeah. So, on the bright side, I'm excited to see what the Valiant has in store for us in their next game, and I'm also excited to see if the Vancouver Titans make any roster swaps in between stage 3 and 4, because of, like, roll-lock and whatever, and just, like, trying to adapt to Sombra. Oh, it should be interesting. And that brings us to... If you know me personally, if you've talked to me at all in the past couple of days, you know I am not happy about this. So, for context, I'm like a hard Zarya player. I play Zarya, I play Diva, I like getting in their face and just diddling really, really hard. And that's why I like goats so much. I like how coordinated you have to be. I like Deathball. I like everything like that. One of my most vivid memories of like whenever I was bronze was I managed to get my team to play quad tank Lucio, and we just ran into their face and murdered them. It was amazing. And I really like multi-tank compositions. That's been pretty much the meta for as long as Overwatch has been alive. I mean, we did have dive meta, which was like really hard for like a while, but other than dive, we've never really had a 2-2-2 meta. I mean, we occasionally have the pirate ship, but sometimes you can throw in an extra tank or an extra support instead of like a DPS. But it's pretty much always been like multiple tanks, like either multiple tanks or multiple DPS. Like triple DPS wasn't really a meta composition, but it was like a thing that people ran. And yeah, just with the 2-2-2 Rollock, Chengdu is just gonna be like out of luck because one of their things is like multiple DPS, Hammond and Mercy. And for example, the other day I ran quad DPS. I played Hammond, some other loser played Mercy, and we just dominated. We went 2-0, like 99 to like 30 on both maps on Busan. It was easy. It was great. And without 2-2-2, you're never gonna get that kind of thing. You're never gonna see like those crazy Mei stalls from Jonak and then getting a 3K in overtime and just capping the point. You're never, and then like the panic spawns are gonna be an issue too. Like people who, if it's an overtime and you've got like a tick left, you aren't gonna be thinking about team compositions. You're gonna be thinking about how can I get over there as fast as possible. And then what about the people who play both tank and DPS? A lot of what was the team? Yeah, a lot of like Diva players have been learning to play Sombra, which is something like I really wish they would bring Gaguri in and teach her how to play Sombra instead of trying to teach a Sombra player how to play Diva. Because like, Shanghai really needs a Diva, and they have a Diva, but then they picked up Envy, and I'm not biased. Where was I going with this? I got completely off topic. Anyway, a lot of teams have been teaching their Diva players how to play Sombra. With the exception of the New York Excelsior, who just brought in, like, Sabiolbi to play Sombra, which was a questionable idea, but it seems to be working well enough for them. But then, like, what if you have people who, like, can flex from tank to DPS? Like, what happens with the Zarya and, what happens with the Diva and Sombra players? Pretty much all of the current Zarya players are DPS players. And what if they want to run a Zarya, but maybe, oh wait, no, we should go like double sniper or something like that. That's gonna be an issue. I don't know how they're gonna fix that. Which the reason why I'm talking about this so aggressively is I think I mentioned this earlier, but Fissure actually confirmed that 2-2-2 Rollock is gonna be a thing. Like on his stream, after he already like the announcement went out that he retired, he confirmed it. So yeah, I'm not too terribly happy. I think I posted in my Discord server something along the lines of "This makes me want to rope." And the thing is, Goats is on its way out. We already saw with the LA Valiant. They ran an Ana and a Sombra, and that's how they countered Goats. We're seeing a lot more Sombra Goats, thanks to the Shanghai Dragons. We're starting to see Hackfist, courtesy of Element Mystic, and yeah, Goats is definitely on its way out. I mean, it's not completely out because like Shock and Titans are very much Goats people, but I think we should allow it to go away naturally instead of forcing it to go away. Not to mention like 2-2-2 Rollock, even though it'll like guarantee that I have 2 supports in my team. I'd much rather take the risk of having 3 or 4 DPS than like having me play Mercy or something like that and not being able to flex. I'm not too terribly thrilled about that. So yeah, in conclusion, I think Rollock is a terrible idea. But I guess some higher up guy thinks it is. Bunch of people disagree with it. Some of the professional players agree with it. Like the article I read, and the article I'm referring to is the one that leaked 2-2-2 being a thing for Overwatch League. Some of the pro players are interested in it, and I'm willing to bet at least 5 pennies that the people who are saying that are people trapped in brig jail. Like, Surefour is probably excited for Rolock to be a thing. Zachary's probably excited for it to be a thing. Taimu's probably excited. Somansu, I don't know. I mean, he's a good TBS player and everything, but, like, he's gotten pretty used to that Zarya. Same with Haksal. Haksal seems to, like, retain his Genji a little bit. But it's going to be interesting, especially, like, being in Stage 4. I don't think a lot of teams are going to be able to adapt this really quickly. I do see the Boston Uprising doing really well, because they found a lot of success with Hackfist, which, God, I hate Hackfist. It's like everything I hate about playing tank, just inside of a composition, is what you get with Hackfist. Anyway, 2-2-2, it sucks. Moving on to today's predictions. Good, I actually did make a tab for this. I was hoping I remembered to do that. God, there we go. So, our first game of the day is going to be between Hangzhou Spark and the LA Valiant. We're going to be able to see if the win on the Titans was just a fluke, or if they're going to be able to do that Sombra Ana nonsense consistently. But yeah, Kariv was a soft and hard Ana carry, and Factor Fiction was a really good pickup for main tank, and Shaq's Sombra is, it's intense, it's really good. So I think, aside from the Mayhem, I think the LA Valiant has probably had the best roster swaps of any of the teams lately. So yeah, currently the LA Valiant is 4 wins, 1 loss with a +8 map differential. They're looking really good this stage. And then Hangzhou Spark has 4 wins and 1 loss with a +9 map differential. So completely number-wise, they're about the same. However, I'm pretty sure Valiant's going to come on top this time, because Hangzhou has very limited experience playing Hotes and playing into Hotes. Which, side note, Hotes is the phrase that I'm going to use from now on to refer to Sombra Goats, also known as Hotes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because, like, Sotes doesn't have the same name to it, and that kind of sounds a little weird, but Hotes doesn't sound weird. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Hangzhou has had very limited experience with Hotes, and I don't know how they're going to react to it. I mean, yeah, I guess we'll see tonight, but I definitely see Valiant taking this win. Probably 3-1, if not a 3-2, but I definitely think Valiant's going to win tonight. And then we have the Paris Eternal versus Seoul Dynasty. Apparently, I finally say the word Dynasty properly. So, Paris currently has a 3-win, 3-loss record this stage with a +1 map differential. And then Seoul had 3 wins, 2 losses with a +2 map differential. So, Seoul is looking a little bit better than Paris. Currently, Paris has a really solid main tank and a really solid off support with Cruz and Ben Best, and they work together extremely well. Paris has been having really, really good synergy lately, and I'm really excited to see if they can get over their crushing defeat by Boston and pop off today. However, that being said, and I think it's gonna be relatively easy, because Seoul recently lost Fissure, like really recently, like last night. Yeah, I was writing my outline for today last night, and I was like looking up the roster to make sure nothing had changed since the other day, and yeah, sure enough, Fissure was gone, like at 1 in the morning. So yeah, Fissure gone as their main tank, who was my favorite main tank on the Seoul Dynasty, and then they're gonna be stuck with Marv 1, who is He's alright. He gets the job done, but not nearly as flashy or as well as Fissure does. And I think because his departure seemed extremely sudden. And I don't know if there's something going on with Fissure or if there's something going on with Seoul, but it's probably going to impact their gameplay today. And I definitely see Paris coming out on top. Oh yeah. And then later today, we've got the Chengdu Hunters versus San Francisco Shock. I know this is something I would ordinarily count out as, like, easy dub for the San Francisco Shock, but after the upset between the LA Valiant and the Vancouver Titans on Sunday, you can't expect anything. So, Shock have a very limited experience with Hotes. The only person that really plays Sombra is Sinatra, and even that's been relatively limited compared to the other teams that run it more regularly. And then I have no idea what the Hunters are going to run. I literally have LOL IDK written on them, because you just never know what they're going to do. the thing about the Hunters is a lot of teams try to play around. Like, if they're going to be playing a certain team, they'll try to practice people like that team. Like, they'll practice certain compositions, they'll practice certain rotations and things like that. If I remember correctly, Jane was the one that said this. He was talking offhandedly about who they're scrimming against at the moment in one of his logs. And he says, and then we've got a block with Chengdu tonight, so that means we're not going to be able to practice anything we want to practice. Because that's how it be with Chengdu. Chengdu just runs their own thing, and you have to play into them. So I fully expect at least attempt some Somber Goats tonight, and I really hope they do. That being said, pretty sure Shock's gonna come out on top. I don't see them going into tiebreaker. I think 3-1 definitely, but yeah, could be a 3-2, could be something crazy. But I think part of Chengdu's victory over Fuel did have something to do with Fuel not working together very well. Anyway, so in conclusion, Valiant 3-1 over Hangzhou, Paris 3-1 over Seoul, Shock 4-0 or 3-1 over the Hunters. So, that is the end of the first episode of Plat Chat. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'm going to go ahead and take a little break to rest my throat, get some water, and we'll go ahead and get ready to cast some Overwatch. See you guys in a bit.